Hi, it's Monday, it's 3 o'clock. Welcome to Together Unlocked. We've been locked up here in East London for the last 6 months. Welcome to anyone who's joining the show for the first time, and also welcome to anybody who wasn't leaving under restrictions but is about to from Thursday. We'll be talking a bit more about that in our weekly update a bit later on. But first of all, some introductions and some audio description. I'm Ju Gosling, also known as the artist Ju90. I'm artistic director of Together 2012, which is run by disabled artists in the main Paralympic host borough of Newham. We're creating a cultural Paralympic legacy with a free programme of disabled led arts exhibitions, events, screenings, performances, and much, much more, including our forthcoming Disability History Month festival. We've got 5 weeks of free online events for you, all to be enjoyed from the comfort of your own home. We're going to be talking more about that after 3:30. But before we come back to introduce Julie, our chair, and give you some audio description, and also the tabby cat that's just landed on us called Jinx, we'll go over to the other end of our long wheeled virtual sofa in the West Midlands for some introductions and audio description.
Hi, I'm Josh Surgeonator. I'm also one of the hosts of Together Unlocked, and I'm a PhD research student. A little bit of audio description. I have fairly shapeless blonde hair at the moment, and I don't think it's going to get any better. Going back into lockdown, it's going to continue to grow. I didn't go for a haircut when I could go to the hairdressers, so I'm not going to go now that I can't go to the hairdressers. Um, and then I am wearing a very dark navy blue kind of quarter zip um, sweatshirt that has it's someone in a wheel. If you can see that detail, I don't know if you can. It's a wheelchair basketballer with a flag coming out of their kind of back, which is the Union flag, and then it says Great British Wheelchair Basketball European Championships Tenerife 2017. Uh, and it was because it was some clothes that I got while I was there. It's kind of team stash. So
Oh, jolly good.
Hmm.
That's all right. And today I am Robin Surgeoner. Um, I am the business director at Together 2012, and an artist known as Angry Fish when I play the guitar and speak poetry. What are you laughing at?
speak poetry.
Yeah, I
I
speak
always thought
poetry.
you read poetry,
No, I
but
speak poetry. Anyway,
I can see the surgeon and family have had a great weekend locked down together.
yeah, yeah, we'll probably talk about where what our headspaces are like shortly. So today, I am sporting silvery grey hair in my boy band cut, obviously still, and I will cut your hair if you want, Josh. And
no.
I'm wearing no rimmed black arm glasses and a black round necked Adidas training shirt. So it's kind of black, but it's got three white stripes, um, like from sleeve to sleeve across the shoulders. Very Adidas styly. Oh, and in our background, just to say, I remembered for once we have our marquee background, and just hanging above Josh's head mostly is a drum skin for Angry Fish, the band, but you can just see the bottom of it.
Brilliant. Thank you, father and son. Obviously, everything's been going swimmingly in the West Midlands. I'm Ju Gosling, and I've got a short, henna'd red, self cut corona crop. Um, I have green eyes, olive skin, black plastic glasses, black wrist braces, and silver coloured jewellery. And today I'm wearing a t shirt that some regular viewers will have seen before. It's a bright pink t shirt, and I'm going to talk a bit more about the pink in a minute. And it says Superwoman on it in the sort of classic Superman text, but it's actually an image of a woman in the developing world carrying a burden on top of her head as they do every day, and puny little Superman is rolling around in it, powerless. And the reason I chose this t shirt today was the American elections, which don't worry, we're not going to talk about. But I was fascinated to see last week that Pantone, who basically are in charge of all of the colours for the world's printing presses, have come up with a new Pantone colour called political pink, and it just happens to be this pink. The closest I could get to understanding about why it's called political pink is that communists were known as the Reds, and people who were thought to have communist sympathies were known as Pinkos,
Pinkos.
and this was a very close to red shade. But in the States, they've produced all sorts of pantsuits and different outfits in political pink, which women are wearing at the moment to show, well, just that commitment that I was always brought up to, which is, suffragettes suffered a great deal for the right of women to vote, and therefore, whoever you vote for, women should vote. So, this is me in my political pink t shirt. Behind me is part of the Together Graffiti banner, which we created with a company called Graffiti Life and a whole group of people who participate in our clubs program. And it's got images of all of the arts activities we cover through the year. So poetry, spoken word, literature, drama, dance, carnival art, street art, live music, visual arts, craft, photography, filmmaking, and more. We're going to tell you more about how you can join in from home with that a bit later in the show. But next, I'm going to go to Julie for some audio description. Julie, I haven't given you any kind of introduction today, even including your surname. So, who are you?
I'm Julie Newman. I'm the chair of Together 2012. I have gold and silver hair with dark rimmed glasses. My hair is growing. That's all I can say. It continues to grow. I'm wearing a white t shirt with a rather lovely um, picture on the front. It's actually labeled Costa Rica. And it's really nice, sort of tropical colors, greens, mid greens. Uh, there's no political pink, although there's a sort of reddish pink and a pink and a blue sky and a pink sun. But I do like the idea of the political pink because, aside from anything about, reclaiming derogatory words, I think it's an interesting concept that, sort of it's traditionally associated with the LGBTQI plus community. I know that lavender and purple is more, but I do think pink as well, and it's
Yes, and
nice.
there's different pinks, and I think this is why Pantone have been very careful to choose this, very, very specific shade, which for anybody who can't see but is listening to it or used to be able to see, Robin thinks it's fuchsia. And I think that's absolutely right. So there's different kinds of pinks. I haven't so much seen this kind of pink associated with the LGBTQI plus community. Why have you chosen Costa Rica? Would you just rather be anywhere but London?
No, not at all. I just thought it's a grey day. It is indeed a grey day, and I thought it might be quite cheerful and just a bit of lightness.
Yeah, absolutely. So on a Friday, we always carry a section called Something for the Weekend. And we put those recommendations on our highlights and links page, which you can find on our website, www.together2012.org.uk. Under the main Together Unlocked TV page, you will see a whole bunch of other pages, starting with highlights and links, but there's also a page telling you more about the animal hosts that you will see wandering off on and off at will. Another one's no, same Tabby Jinx has just galloped back in here. So many of the things that we recommend for the weekend continue. So do check out the website from Friday and previous weeks. But how did you get on? What kind of weekend did you have, particularly as swimming coaches, when you then had the lockdown news on Saturday that pools were going to close?
Frustrating, really, from that perspective. I mean, kind of last week, everybody been ramping up for a competition in 2 weeks' time. Uh, did some really good sprint work on Friday, set some for Saturday, and then get to the pool, and there's all these doom and gloom announcements that you don't know what's going to happen, but probably do. And then we kind of waited from 4 till 5 till 6 till whenever he came out, and didn't really say very much, and gave us a load of graphics that most people probably couldn't see. But it's I suppose we've had kind of nearly 48 hours, well, since kind of really knowing 48 hours to start to get our heads around what's got to happen. I mean, in the broader sense, really, I mean, I do think it would be very easy to slip into a sense of doom and gloom, and I think that as a show, as individuals, um, we have to find ways of challenging that and kind of going, well, yeah, but we haven't been out. And I was talking to our backroom staff, otherwise known as Tracy Surgeonator, earlier, and kind of she's saying, oh, I feel like there's this big weight on me, and I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of just this expectation that they're kind of giving this really negative perspective. But for most of us, nothing's actually going to change other than we can't go out to as many places as we've been or can't go to work. But I think, fingers crossed, if we can keep doing all the things we've been doing in terms of health, mental health, as well as physical health, then, fingers crossed we can keep ourselves and others, on that positive journey through,
Yeah,
journey
absolutely.
through a very negative situation.
I mean, I think there's two things that are keeping me going. And of course, the first is we're about to launch a 5 week festival, which we predicted in February we would not be able to deliver in person in any way, shape, or form, not even a bit of outdoor street art or an exhibition in a library. So we haven't planned any of those, and we have a really packed program for you. I think also Julie and I have not only not been out since March, so what's that, 7 months now, but we're still waiting for a reliable supply of PPE. So we've had no social care indoors either. Now, many people might think we were, I don't know. I I think these ideas of health and mental health, it's all hangs in the balance, but we're still here, and we're doing pretty well. And I think the secret, as we always say, is if you stay home and stay creative, that is not only the way to stay well, but it also is a real positive contribution. And I think we think of being shut away and shielding or being locked down as really negative. But actually, we're really helping. We're helping the NHS because we can't even fall over and get treated by having an accident, let alone catching COVID. And we're helping everybody who has to go out, not only key workers, lots of people still have to go to work, and they so far still haven't said whether people shielding have still got to go to work if they can't do it from home or whether they'll be furloughed. So by not making places crowded, I think we're making an active contribution. And I think everybody who has only been out for essential reasons since March can really give ourselves a good old pat on the back, because we can also say to the rest of the world, it's not so bad. But the Christmas stuff has really made me laugh. We usually have 2 weeks at Christmas with pretty much no guests, but they would be other disabled people, certainly no social care and no visits from family. And we usually have the GP sign us off for the fortnight by saying, if in doubt, call an ambulance. Now, apart from the fact there's not going to be any ambulances available, the number of families that just must be thinking, thank you. Finally, we don't have to go to the in laws. We can stay at home. The kids can play with their toys all day. There's older people all over the UK thinking, thank God I don't have to put up with the kids all day and the noise. I can sit down and enjoy my Christmas. There's going to be a lot of disappointed people if the result of this lockdown is a Christmas as usual. But don't worry, I don't think that's going to happen. But we haven't heard a single word, have we, from all of those people who just absolutely loathe the big family gatherings. Not to mention, and it is of course mostly women, the women who won't have to be cooking these massive feasts and entertaining all sorts of relatives they don't like. So yeah, I'm feeling quite cheerful at the moment, all things considered.
I have to cook Christmas dinner in our house. Thank you very much. And I love it because I get to eat it as well.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. Well, of course, the good thing about two women is we can take it in turns. Although Julie is so much better a cook that if we want a really nice turkey or indeed anything else,
We
Julie's going to
don't.
have to cook
Yeah,
it.
we don't tend to eat turkey. I don't like turkeys because I don't like it being factoried like that, as most of them are. So we tend to eat guinea fowl. Um, and up until recently, until last year actually, we got it from our local butchers. So they'd be spitting out of pellets from time to time. But guinea fowl is a nice bird, and it's not too big, it's not too extravagant, it's easy to cook, and it's tasty.
Good. So anyway, back to art then, and back to what we did this weekend. Sorry, I did kind of throw that one off a little bit longer. I did endeavour to do some work towards my home film, as I suggested I would, with the help of my able cutting room expert here. So that has happened. I did do that. I didn't get to, as yet, watch the his Dark Materials trailer, but I will do that this week actually, because we've just finished the series, so it's time to find something else to watch.
Yeah, we had too many chores to be able to do all of the TV we wanted. But that's a very good plug before I move on to say one of the things that we're offering in terms of festival opportunities in terms and joining in from home is we're giving an award for the best film made on the subject of home. It can be any length and any genre. It can be comedy, drama, documentary, or anything else you can think of. But the late deadline is this weekend coming. Also, if you're a disabled filmmaker or you're any filmmaker making a film about disability, then if you haven't completed your film by this weekend, but it will be completed by the end of the month, then again, enter the film now. Let me know all of the details, and we'll do our best to be able to consider it for programming. And we'll talk a bit more about the film festival after 3:30. But now it's time for app date. And of course, the NHS COVID-19 app is the other kind of real weapon against COVID. Least said about test and trace, the better, I think. We were privileged in Newham in August and September to be part of piloting the app. That was a really interesting experience. We kept saying at the time that it was only when millions of people started using it that problems would become apparent. And that's been the case. But I think they're nearly at 20 million downloads, although they haven't published the latest figures, which is on track to be one of the most successful in Europe, if not the world. And they seem to be really responsive about updates. So every time there's been a problem identified, it seems to have been sorted out within 24 hours. So I don't think we can say fairer than that. But we really want to encourage you, if you've got an up to date smartphone, to download this app. There's still 2 out of 3 people haven't downloaded it. So we're just going to put on a very short film that's taken from our longer film, What's App Auntie? That explains how the app works and deals with some quite difficult questions about the app, because everybody should be sure about issues like privacy before they download and install it, of course. And it's in BSL with an English voiceover and captions. So this is Sahira Khan in What's App Auntie?
What's up, Auntie?
What are you looking at?
The new NHS COVID-19 app, Auntie.
What's that?
It's a new way to fight coronavirus using our phones. It'll help everyone to protect each other and save lives. Let me explain. The app works in 6 different ways. If you become ill, the app helps you to check if you have coronavirus symptoms. If you do have coronavirus symptoms, the app helps you to book a test. This test can be carried out at home, at a walk-in centre, or at a drive-in centre. If you do test positive for coronavirus, you tell the app on your phone. Then you isolate, which is stay at home alone, for 2 weeks after your symptoms started. After that, you should no longer be infectious. While you're isolating, the app provides you with advice and support. Isolating is essential to stop the virus spreading. The app tells all of the phones that have been closer to you than 2 meters for at least 15 minutes over the past 2 weeks. The apps on those phones then alert their owners to isolate in case they're infected too. They can then book their own tests using the app.
Will you help me to install the app now, please?
Yes, of course, Auntie. Support the app. Support the NHS. Save lives.
I do like that film. I think it's very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And big fan of Sahira's, who is doing a show for us as part of the festival. So tell you more about that after 3:30. And I think it's the isolation advice that is just so important to follow. I think what the data shows is that one of the problems in terms of this big explosion in cases is people just not quarantining, not isolating, or going, oh, well, I'm going to isolate, but I'm going to go to the shops first and stock up on food. Well, you could already have infected more than one person just in that trip. Or oh, I'm going to get on a bus and see if I can find a test center. No, unless you can get to a test center walking or driving, you really have to wait for a home test. And I think that's the thing for me about this month. I approach it with an open heart and a kind of willing spirit, but we do all need to do it together. And if we do it together and we all follow the rules, then it is going to make a massive difference. Just fingers crossed, not such a massive difference that everybody has to rush around visiting relatives at Christmas when they don't want to. So, with the update feature, we started it around the NHS COVID-19 app, but we've moved on to talk about all sorts of arts apps, and we've particularly been talking about Photoshop. And Robin has sent in this image, which he will talk about, which was your very first attempt at Photoshop.
It was indeed. Yeah, I mean, for those, I mean, these are taken. That's a photograph I took at SeaWorld in Florida. Um, whether we like whale shows these days, it was back in 2005.
Do you want to do
and-
some audio description?
yeah. So what we have is a killer whale in an absolute vertical position, almost out the water to where its kind of body and its tail join together. Um, yeah, so the only thing you can't see is the tail, and it's like 15, 18 feet in the air, and balanced on the uh, killer whale's nose, like any good whale trainer, is in fact our other host, Joshua Surgeonator, in his wheelchair, balanced on the whale's nose. And I haven't done a lot of Photoshop since then, but this was part of a disability arts project in the time about freedom and, you know, dreams and living your dreams. And we'd been swimming with dolphins as it was. So I thought this was the icicle on the cake. Icicle on the cake. Icing on the cake.
I'd just like to point out, I'm not only balancing on top of an orca whale's nose, I'm doing a wheelie on top because I'm just that cool and that skilled. that I
And
can-
what year was this?
Sorry?
What year was this again?
2005, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
It was only the date on the picture was 2005. So it was around, could have been 2004, but probably 5.
Yes, I mean, funnily enough, I think I first remember meeting Josh around that time. I'm not that I've seen him a lot since until lockdown. So again, making new friends, another positive thing about lockdown.
You stole his wheels.
I didn't steal
Yeah.
his wheels.
You
He was
did.
my style icon.
But well,
I
yeah,
had
so that
wheelchair.
chair with the sparkly wheels on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me tell the story for everybody who doesn't actually understand it instead of the three of you going off on one amongst yourselves. So we were up in the Midlands. Julie was organising and leading a concert as part of, it would have been the British Council of Disabled People's annual conference.
Yeah, I got commissioned. They brought me in to set up this cabaret.
And I only just recently got the wheelchair that I'm sitting in now because it's an RGK chair. So when you have them refurbished, they really do have a lifetime guarantee. But I had boring front casters and Josh had flashing ones. And I went straight back to the manufacturers and said, "Why was I not offered these?" And they said, "Well, they're really for children." And I said, "Well, no, I consider it an essential health and safety feature," and managed to get my grant extended. And my chairs have had flashing wheels ever since. So you were that cool dude in your wheelchair as a primary school student. What
Yeah,
a shame we're all
I don't know
stuck
where it went
apart
wrong.
from Robin without a decent haircut now.
Yes, it went downhill. The first kind of 10 years were real strong, and then it's rapidly gone down since then. But
So, are there, before we move on again, in terms of apps, do we have any new apps to recommend?
I do. Oh,
Sorry, I do as well. When you're ready. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
we can start.
So I found one, and I've only just used it a little bit. I mean, and it's called Jam Kazam, and I will send you the link to go up. Um, and it's basically it's a music app that allows you to uh, play a lot. It's yeah, it's like it's a jamming track, but it's got these really good um, tracks, and what they're called they're what they call multi-track versions. So the drums, the guitar, the vocals, piano, whatever, are all recorded on separate tracks. So you can take out whatever instrument you want to play, and replace it, or indeed play alongside it, so as you can use it for learning. Um, and I haven't tried, but it's got a function which is somehow some really clever digital stuff is allowing people to do kind of band practices by somehow centralizing signals and minimizing latency. And latency is, for all of us that if you've ever been on a mobile phone, or and you hear what you say because you hear things back because there's a time delay. That's what we call latency. Um,
And
and,
it's a big issue on Zoom, isn't it? Because I know we were talking, you recommended the Sofa Singers as something to do on Friday. And, we were pointing out that all of these choral things work because you sing at home, but if you try and sing all together online, everybody's out of sync because of the latency.
when
So
you
that sounds great. I mean, it sounds really good as well if you're, you know, in the future or in the past busking, because that gives you that entire backing track. So it's not just performing, I think, or rehearsing. If you're able to kind of put in all the instruments but your own, that just sounds great for
yeah,
single performers.
I've got lots to investigate in it. And the basic app is indeed free, and you can use it on a phone and on a PC or tablet, which is great. I mean, you then where the expense comes in is if you want, you get your first track free, and I still haven't decided which one. I've managed to sample about 15, so there is that available of sampling, um, but then it wasn't. It was like £1.59 or something for the whole track, so it's not hugely onerous. And if it's something you really want to learn to play or whatever, it's not horribly expensive.
And I think also one hopes that there's some licensing system for the tracks where they're going back to the owners. And, we promote live music. It's really important that we remember that musicians need to make a living. They get an absolute fraction of a penny for every Spotify stream, for example. You can be streamed millions of times and still make virtually nothing. So I think it's only right that if you're going to use their music, that a kind of token payment is made. But yeah, that just sounds great. And what did you want to tell us about, Julie?
I went wild and I spent $9.99 on Procreate. I felt a bit funny after you guys said, "Well, that's not an awful lot of money," and I thought, I suppose it's not really.
Well, it can be.
So anyway, I had the money in the bank, so I did go wild and I bought it. I've been trying it out on my new iPad Pro.
And it's a drawing app.
It's not. It's a drawing, painting, sketching. It's an all sorts app. I've been using my Apple Pencil for the first time, So it's all a little bit tricky at the moment, but it seems that you can create layers by using a photograph that you've taken, and then it's effectively you can paint over it, draw over it on another layer, and then remove the original photograph so that you've got something that you've created from a photograph, but not using a photographic app. It's quite interesting. So I'm looking forward to playing a bit more with that. But it is, I don't find the Apple Pencil terribly easy. So I've got to get a little bit of, a bit more comfortable with it, I think.
Yeah, I've never done well with those kind of pen-shaped things on touch screens, but then I don't know how much of that is the state of my hands. I quite like the finger painting apps where you can just draw. Yeah, I tend to use my fingers on the screen because I've got limited use of my hands. It actually works better for me. Did you have any apps you wanted to recommend before we move on, Josh?
I don't know if it's an app. I suppose it is an app. I've just got a new phone, because mine was many years old and had literally stopped working and had kind of broken down. No, it really had, to be fair. So I've just got the latest iPhone because, again, I am lucky enough to have that in the bank. And some of the camera features that come with the new phone are incredible. So I'm kind of looking forward to kind of playing around. I played around with it a little bit this morning. Some of the portrait mode and kind of low light and night mode things that come with it. And it can kind of shoot and edit in Dolby Vision, which is a kind of professional setup. And it's got all these kind of light sensor scans in that you can do all sorts of kind of really technical manipulation that I need to learn how to do. But I'm really looking forward to kind of getting to grips and probably spending lots of time on Google finding out how to use all of these really in-depth settings. But yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of playing around with that app and seeing what new things it can do, and then hopefully feedback on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, skating over what I think about some of the mobile phone providers and experiences I've had, you can, Sky, for example, though I wouldn't recommend them, do a scheme where you can keep upgrading your phone every year and you can swap it back and you don't need to pay anything up front. So there are ways of getting these new phones. I think, to be honest, the cameras for me is the biggest point, but that was why I got the 11 Pro. So I'm certainly not upgrading again. I will just cope with what I've got, I think. But before we move on and look at our Join In From Home program, we've had a video sent in by Stera Plurger and Hannah Facey from our company Act Up Newham, our associate drama company. Hannah and Stera, as you know, if you're a regular viewer, have been making lots of content for us, not just from Act Up Newham, but also for themselves. Stera has been trying different arts activities and demonstrating them for us. And she just wanted to share this very seasonal weekend pumpkin carving.
Hi, I'm Stella and I made a pumpkin. It's really good in the dark. Bye.
So in that video, we saw Stera carving out the pumpkin, well, two pumpkins, and lighting them up. I thought there were some very interesting techniques there. So she'd got a star-shaped cookie cutter, for example, and basically used a mallet to take it through, which I thought was really good. I was quite tempted, if I'd had time, not to do a pumpkin because we didn't have one, but to kind of make a paper one with a kind of miserable face, because usually I give out about 75 sets of sweets to local children, and I have a lot of decorations on the outside to encourage them to visit. And of course, this year I just had to encourage them not to visit, but the plus side was that we ordered sweets for ourselves instead and stayed inside with the decorations and ate them. So it wasn't all bad news, but yes, I thought frowny pumpkin really.
I thought
Oh,
I was going to say Stera just looks so pleased with herself.
yeah,
So hard. Have you ever done it?
I
I have.
haven't, but I know you have. But I was going to say, same as what Ju said. I was watching. I was like, the using the cookie cutter. I assume it's just a really big, either a small pumpkin or a big cookie. But using that and yeah, just kind of hammering it through is such a good idea.
It's a
But then,
brilliant idea. Yeah.
it's so much safer than trying to
Yeah,
carve a knife through
I, I,
it.
did, I did one last year with crooked teeth and everything, but with a really really sharp knife, and yeah, it's not something you'd recommend lightly.
No, I have to
No.
say that we've got more the habit of asking the social care support to take out the scoops and then doing the last little bit ourselves. But anyway, there wasn't one. So now it is more than time to pop on a video and just tell you a little bit more about how you can join in from home, and then we'll be telling you more about our festival. Together 2012 is running a Join In From Home programme from our website together2012.org.uk. Click on the link at the top of the page, Join In From Home, to go straight to the main page where you have a wide range of accessible, inclusive creative activities, mostly using things that you would already have at home. At the top of the page and throughout the pages, you will also see videos in British Sign Language to translate the site for deaf people. These videos can also be useful if you have difficulties reading and you simply want to hear more of the content. The Join In From Home programme is based on the activities that we would usually be running in East London. Dance Club usually meets on the fourth Monday of each month, and they create improvised masked dance for the screen. Here you can also see their very first film, where they simply made masks from paper plates, covered themselves with fabric, and just moved gently to the music. You can hear as well, there's an improvised soundtrack. So we're suggesting that you make a mask out of anything you can think of. It could be a cardboard box, a paper bag, a paper plate, as in here. Video yourself dancing in it and then share the video with us. We will show it on screen and we will also enter it into the dance programme of our film festival, which we run every December. If you're temporarily or permanently chair-based, there's also a warm-up you can do here created by our associate wheelchair dance company Folk in Motion, and that focuses on relaxing your upper body and improving your breathing. The Photographers and Filmmakers Club usually meets on the second Monday of each month. We're inviting you to make a video at home with the theme of home and share it with us. You can use a phone or a camera, make any kind of film you wish, including drama, documentary, dance, animation, artist films, comedy, and they'll be eligible for a CAT award at our December Film Festival. You can also watch with us from home. In addition to Together 2012 TV with Together Unlocked and other live streams, we have the Together Disability Film Festival highlights. Each year we run the International Together Disability Film Festival in Stratford, bringing together a wide range of films by disabled filmmakers, as well as films about disability issues and disabled people. We always publish the programmes online with links to the films that are freely available. So we invite you to revisit our recent film festivals from the comfort of your own home, and also to send us reviews of those films. And finally, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy videos of past live performances, artist talks, and creative workshops that we've produced in the past here. So, for example, from past festivals, we have documentation and films of creative dance workshops, street art performances, dances that the dance club have created, dance performances, and of course, we're continuing to add new activities on a regular basis. So I'm just putting some text up on the bottom of the screen to remind you of the website address. Again, that's www.together2012.org.uk. Now, also on the website, you will find the full programme for the Together 2020 Disability History Month Festival. We don't usually have any other title, but this year we're calling it Making History for all sorts of reasons, which I'm sure are obvious. So there's a main festival page with all of the event details. There's linked pages for each event. And for many of them, there's also a ticket booking link. So the way it's going to work is you don't have to book tickets to be able to enjoy the festival. You can watch it via the website or YouTube without having to do anything else but switch it on. But if you'd like to participate in the questions and answers and just have that kind of sense of excitement about being part of something live with all the tensions there's going to be for Josh and I, who'll be pressing most of the buttons, then you can book via Eventbrite. Of course, as with everything we do, it's entirely free, and most of those booking links are live now. Josh, you've been doing all sorts of research, haven't you, around Zoom, because we're really inventing how we do this festival as it's going along. The risk assessments on the health and safety are still under consideration, and that's certainly been of interest. But tell us a little bit about how Zoom works if you're coming in to take part in something like this.
So our kind of current planning is that they're going to be run as something called Zoom webinars or seminars. So how that will work is you will be let into the room. They're called rooms. So if
And
you're
we think of that like a virtual foyer, don't we? One of the things we're doing ourselves because it makes sense is to say, well, think of this like a virtual space. So effectively, you launch Zoom, and we're going to have some instructions and help pages up very soon about that. And that's like going in to the foyer, isn't it? And then somebody lets you through the door and you're in the waiting room.
yeah, you will kind of click join and add in the correct information, and then you'll be taken to a waiting room that will say something along the lines of the host will let you in soon. I can't remember the exact wording. So once you are then let in, what will happen is that as a kind of attendee, or you will be able to see the panelists, which will be the kind of the artists or the chair for that session, and you'll be able to kind of ask questions and things. But you won't be able to see the other attendees, and the other attendees won't be able to see you.
And we should call those audience members, shouldn't we, rather than Zoom's kind of language. So, yes, you come in as a member of the audience, and yes, I think it's an advantage. You won't, even if you tried to switch your camera on, it wouldn't work. So you can come into the Zoom and still have privacy unless you want to submit questions. And that is very much done in writing, isn't it, via the live chat. So the questions are typed up or can be submitted in advance, and then they will be dealt with by the artists.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's really important that it allows you to kind of keep that privacy. If you are a little bit uncomfortable with kind of being on camera or kind of Zoom and kind of those online things, kind of rest assured that as host, we'll be able to kind of see who's coming in, but other than that, no one will be able to see who you are or kind of what you're doing. Obviously, if you put a question in, whatever you put your name as will kind of appear. But other than that, you will kind of pretty much be in, but no one can see, if that makes sense.
It does, and I think that's a really important point. You don't have to have your full name displayed. You can, within Zoom, it's very easy just to choose the display name on the day. It's obviously helpful for us because if you just get a random phone number, you don't always know whether this is somebody who's booked or is a potential troublemaker. But the great thing about these webinars is Zoom bombing cannot take place because they don't have the panelist links. The panelist links will only be going to the people who are actually participating actively. But like I say, there's something quite exciting, I think, about being part of a live event. Even if you're at home and even if you could still watch it live on YouTube. So we do encourage you to start booking. So let me have a look at the program. Julie's been very patiently hanging onto my iPad so that I don't give everybody the wrong dates. But effectively, we start next week and we have 5 weeks worth of events and activities for you. We've also, of course, got this live stream. So you'll be hearing plenty about what's taking place. We'll be interviewing artists on the live stream. And we'll be reviewing the shows afterwards and putting in links through the highlights and links page. But launching officially on Together Unlocked is Jess Starnes, who will be joining us next Wednesday. Jess Starnes is a really interesting young artist who's been featured on Together Unlocked before, and she's doing a project called Walk With Me. And this is one where you too, if you're one of the first to apply, can take part actively in the festival. The way it works is Jess is going to take a walk using Google Street View and Zoom, and she's produced lots and lots of information, sort of pictures and diagrams and instructions about how to use Zoom, how to use Google Street View if you haven't done it. And she's also available to give support over the phone. And what happens is you decide on a special place you'd like to share that you can't get to. Might be access reasons, it might be lockdown reasons, it might be financial reasons. And you take that walk together with Jess virtually and you have a chat and she records it. And as long as you're happy, we share that on the live stream Together Unlocked, I think at the beginning of December, and then those walks will stay up. There's 5 or 6 walks available. Julie, you're going to be the person who does the trial walk for Jess, aren't you? Have you decided at all where you're going to go yet?
I've done some preliminary work. The difficulty is that the places that I was looking at initially in Canada and the States, because it's been so long, they're not really there in the same way. So I'm looking at somewhere. I had thought Richmond Park, and then I'd thought about Edinburgh at Greyfriars. We had such a lovely time up there, didn't we?
Well, we did, but I suppose because I didn't know you then, obviously, when you were growing up in North America, I guess I'm fascinated to see North America, even if it's a spot that's, slightly changed. So that's a work in progress where I try and persuade Julie she really wants to go for a walk in North America just to satisfy my curiosity. But I think everybody else would be really interested as well, don't you?
Absolutely. I can't
There
wait.
you go then. That's unanimous. So that's happening next Wednesday. And then next Thursday evening, we have our special launch event. And it's a good time, I think, to say that all of our evening events start at 7 and most of them, not all of them, last just 1 hour. We think that an hour's worth of screen time is really as much as anybody can cope with. So these are, most of them, slightly shorter events than we would usually be running if we were holding the festival in Newham. But like I say, we do need to think about screen fatigue and also, of course, fatigue for our live caption people, global real-time captioning, and of course our sign language interpreters, because in addition to the live captions that we run on this show, there's also going to be BSL interpretation throughout. There's just a couple that are going on a bit longer, but I think we might not have time to get to them today. But just finally, for week one of the festival, just checking that I've got this right. On Saturday, the 14th of November, we're really, Josh is nodding at me. We're releasing the first of our family activities, and this comes from Julia Collar and Mainspring Arts, and it's called Strings and Things. And again, with immaculate timing, it's a set of sensory stories and accompanying videos that explore all the concepts around lockdown in ways that children and people with profound and multiple disabilities can also understand. And all you need is things that you're going to find around the house anyway, like a ball of string. So I just can't wait to see it, actually. It's had support from Mainspring Arts. And of course, the whole of our festival is supported by the Arts Council and the National Lottery. So thank you so much for that. So we're going to have more news on Wednesday. But I do encourage you to go online and book tickets for the launch event. It's going to be a very special event because we're also going to be remembering artists that we've lost this year. We have a live performance coming to us, I believe. If I said Croatia, could you nod or shake your head, Josh?
It's Croatia.
It is Croatia. Yes, so we have a live performance from Croatia with Sign Dance Collective. We also have filmed contributions from the cellist Joanne Cox, who's playing Sophie's song in memory of Sophie Partridge. We've got Act Up Newham and Black Lives Matter, and much, much more. So it's going to be, I think, a special evening. It wouldn't be possible to have this festival without remembering the people we've lost and without remembering that many people are also mourning, even as they're taking part in festivals and indeed performing. But it will be the kind of evening that we hope that everybody we've lost would have enjoyed. So do join us if you can. And apart from that, what have we got on this Wednesday, Julie?
Morning time, as in the morning, as in after the night, is the theme for poetry.
Right, so okay, I was hoping for a slightly fuller explanation, but Wednesday we celebrate all things poetry, and the Together Pop-Up Poetry Club takes place by phone in the morning. We will be reading their poems out on the show on the theme of morning, as in morning the daytime. And if you'd like to join in from home, the address is at the bottom of the screen, but just send it to info@together2012.org.uk or indeed tv@together2012.org.uk. And we will be delighted to read those too. And also, of course, on a Wednesday, we have our sports and gaming features from Josh. And we have the Clockwork Paralympics. And that's the only thing I forgot to do in terms of the audio description at the beginning. In between Julie and I, sitting under the Together banner, is Liz, the English Heritage Bear, wearing her gold plastic medal, because London 2012 beat Birmingham 2022 in the Clockwork Paralympics last Wednesday.
Again.
We'll have new teddy bears, or not according to Robin. We'll have new teddy bears appearing to compete, also taking part in the International Virtual Bear Hunt at the same time on Wednesday, when we'll be back at 3 o'clock. I'm going to go to you all next for some goodbyes. And then, because it's Monday, we always finish with Relax with Arwa. Arwa is a young artist from Act Up Newham who's set up her own yoga channel, and we pick up the last 5 minutes where we can all just take that time to relax. And I think this is one of those weeks where relaxing is going to be really, really important.
We have Zoom together too, don't we, on Thursday?
Yes, and we'll talk about that Wednesday.
Okay, I'll say bye-bye.
Well, on that note, I'm going to come and chill with Arwa. So I'll see everybody Wednesday. See you
Yes,
all.
apologies in advance if I get so chilled I mess up the end credits as well.
Hello, I wanted to relax with our let's do the meditation. you can either sit down or lie down, whatever is relaxing for you. Okay, let's do a deep breath in and out. In and out. Now, I want you to imagine that you're at a waterfall, just you and the water is coming down on you. Though it's nice and warm, and the water is yellow. It's a happy water. The water is coming down on you. Down, down, down. And then in this state, you are not thinking it nothing else. You're not okay. Just focus on your breathing. And then you decide to go for a swim in the ocean. So you're going for a swim in the ocean, and you can see all the fishes are swimming with you. The fish, and you see a big swordfish. You see a big swordfish, and it's following you. And you see a dolphin, and the dolphin is following you too. And you are feeling at peace with nature. One with nature. Take a deep breath in and out. In again, in and out.